I'm Megan Haasbroek. I'm currently postdoctoral research fellow at the Janeway Institute in the Faculty of Economics at the University of Cambridge. I study theoretically and empirically how trade and industrial policy affects firms in developing countries. In the past, I've worked on the role of intermediation or domestic transport costs on shaping the gains from trade. For the purpose of this video, I would like to discuss insights from a recent GI working paper, Land Acquisition and Sectoral Composition, Evidence from India. A key obstacle to large-scale industrial development in emerging economies are land market frictions, such as insecure property rights or fragmented land ownership. To overcome these barriers, several governments have introduced compulsory land acquisition, also known as eminent domain, policies to facilitate this transition from agriculture to manufacturing. For example, the Chinese government has expropriated 5% of all arable land between 1998 and 2004. There's, however, not yet a systematic evaluation into how compulsory acquisition actually impacts the formation and the scale of industrial development. This is because there are two main empirical challenges with answering this question. First of all, land reform is generally anticipated, meaning that estimating its effect is generally plagued with endogeneity concerns. Second, there is a lack of suitable data, as compulsory acquisition and intentions to enter are both generally unobserved. I overcome both these challenges by studying special economic zones in India and provide novel causal evidence on the impact of compulsory acquisition on industrial composition and local employment. Special economic zones are a key industrial policy. They are demarcated areas with more attractive business and trade laws than the rest of the country and were globally responsible for about 20% of all exports. The Indian Special Economic Zone Act, instated in 2005, allows both public and private developers to set up a special economic zone. To attract private investment in frictional land markets, 7 out of 39 states committed to expropriation for special economic zones. I then explored an unexpected reform after the 2007 Nandigram protest that prohibited compulsory acquisition. This reform increased the cost of land acquisition, and especially so in those states where compulsory acquisition for special economic zones was mandated to begin with. Importantly, I would also expect this to hit manufacturing developers more, as they generally require more land. To pin down the reform's effect on entry, I construct a unique data set of the universal special economic zone proposals between 2006 and 2022. To do so, I scraped the minutes of 119 Special Economic Zone Board of Approval meetings and used text analysis to compile this data set with around 1,400 proposals. I extract information on the developer, the proposed location, sector and size of the Special Economic Zone. I then combine this with publicly available data on Special Economic Zone operations, such that I can track Special Economic Zone development over time, and village-level data on sectoral employment and economic development. I first studied the effect of prohibiting compulsory acquisition on sectoral composition. I compare special economic zone proposals in states with and without mandated compulsory acquisition before and after the reform. I find that in treated states, after the reform, the share of manufacturing decreased by 18 percentage points, or almost 50%. This effect is persistent along the development trajectory. Furthermore, I show that this effect is strongest for the most land-intensive industries and in areas with higher land fragmentation, suggesting that land acquisition costs act as a barrier to entry. Second, I study how prohibiting compulsory acquisition affects local labor markets. I compare how pre- and post-reform special economic zones affect non-agricultural employment in surrounding villages, using a spatial difference in differences design. I find that manufacturing special economic zones after the reform are associated with significantly higher local employment than their pre-reform counterparts. Furthermore, despite a decrease in entry, I find that these special economic zones contributed 4 times more to aggregate employment as well.